The arena was alive long before the first punch was thrown. There was a certain electricity in the air, the kind that only comes when anticipation meets uncertainty. When fans know they are about to witness something meaningful, but they don't, yet know how it will unfold. Two fighters stood on opposite sides of the ring, each carrying not just skill, but pride, history, and expectation. On one side, the undefeated pound-for-pound king, Terence Crawford. On the other, the determined challenger, a man with something to prove, Jose Benavidez Jr. From the opening bell, it was clear this would not be a reckless brawl. This was a chess match disguised as a fight. Both men approached cautiously, measuring distance, studying rhythm, searching for tells. The first few exchanges were subtle, jabs probing the air, feet shifting slightly, eyes locked in calculation. Benavidez wanted Crawford to come forward, to take the initiative, to expose openings. Crawford, however, wasn't interested in rushing. He offered a calm smile, a nod, almost as if to say, "I see what you're trying to do." The early rounds were defined by that tension. Benavidez worked behind his jab, understanding that against a fighter like Crawford, everything begins there. The jab wasn't just a weapon, it was a necessity. Without it, Crawford would dictate everything. But Crawford, ever the tactician, began to adjust. Switching stances, moving fluidly between orthodox and southpaw, he introduced angles that disrupted Benavidez's rhythm. Then came the first real statement, a clean left hand to the body. Not flashy, not explosive, but precise. A message delivered quietly. This is where the fight begins to change. Benavidez responded with resilience. He wasn't intimidated. When Crawford went to the body again, Benavidez absorbed it and shrugged it off, as if to deny its impact. But inside the ring, denial doesn't stop damage. It only delays the realization of it. Crawford's focus was relentless. He wasn't just throwing punches. He was collecting data, analyzing reactions, building a strategy in real time. As the rounds progressed, the tempo began to shift. Crawford started doubling his attacks, working his way inside, mixing body shots with sharp combinations upstairs. Every movement had purpose. Every punch was part of a larger plan. Benavidez, to his credit, showed flashes of brilliance. His counterpunching was sharp, his right hand dangerous. There were moments where he caught Crawford clean, moments that reminded everyone watching that this was not a one-sided contest. But Crawford was something different. His ability to adapt mid-fight set him apart. He began targeting the body more aggressively, exploiting openings beneath Benavidez's guard. Each shot landed with intent, slowly draining the challenger's energy. The effects weren't immediate, but they were inevitable. You could see it in the subtle changes, the slightly heavier breathing, the reduced movement, the hesitation before throwing combinations. Between rounds, the corners told their own stories. Crawford's team, led by Brian Bomac McIntyre, spoke with calm precision. Their instructions were clear: double the jab, close the distance, attack the body, then come back upstairs. They saw what was happening. They knew the tide was turning. In Benavidez's corner, the urgency began to build. He was being urged to stay active, to use his jab, to avoid backing straight up. But inside the ring, execution becomes harder as fatigue sets in. By the middle rounds, Crawford had found his rhythm. His punches flowed more freely now, his confidence growing with every exchange. He wasn't just landing shots, he was controlling the fight. His footwork allowed him to stay, just out of danger, then step in with precision. His combinations were sharp, efficient, and increasingly damaging. Benavidez continued to fight back. He landed some solid right hands, catching Crawford on the way out, exploiting moments where the champion briefly reset. There were exchanges. In the center of the ring that ignited the crowd, moments where both fighters stood their ground and traded. For a brief instant, it felt like the fight could swing either way. But Crawford never lost control. Even in those exchanges, there was a sense that he was one step ahead. He adjusted his angles, changed levels, and continued to invest in the body. The cumulative effect of those shots became impossible to ignore. Benavidez's movement slowed further. His guard came up more often, covering rather than countering, and Crawford noticed. That's what separates elite fighters from great ones, the ability to sense weakness, to recognize the exact moment when the balance shifts. Crawford saw it in Benavidez's eyes, in his posture, in the way he reacted to pressure. The confidence that had been there early in the fight began to fade. By the later rounds, the narrative was clear. Crawford was in control. His punch accuracy climbed, his combinations grew more confident, and his dominance became undeniable. Benavidez, now trailing on the scorecards, needed something dramatic. He needed a moment, one punch, one sequence, to change everything. He tried. In the championship rounds, Benavidez pushed forward with renewed urgency. He threw combinations, aimed for the head and body, searched for openings. But Crawford was ready. He stayed composed, blocking, countering, and responding with precision. Every attempt by Benavidez was met with calculated resistance. Then came the moment. It happened suddenly, but it had been building all night. Crawford closed the distance, drawing Benavidez into range. There was a brief exchange, a flicker of movement, and then it landed. A sharp, perfectly timed uppercut. It was a punch Crawford hadn't shown all fight. That's what made it devastating. Benavidez didn't see it coming. The impact was immediate. Before Benavidez could recover, Crawford followed up with a crushing right hook. The combination was surgical, executed with the precision of a master at work. The challenger staggered, his balance gone, his defenses shattered. The crowd erupted as Crawford pressed forward, sensing the finish. There was no escape. The referee stepped in as Crawford unleashed the final sequence, bringing an end to the fight. It was over. Just like that. The arena exploded with noise, a mixture of awe and admiration. Terence Crawford had done it again. Another dominant performance. Another statement victory. Another reminder of why he stood at the top of the boxing world. As the announcement was made, technical knockout victory, undefeated WBO welterweight champion, the moment felt larger than just a win. It was a demonstration of greatness. Not just power, but intelligence. Not just skill, but adaptability. Crawford hadn't simply beaten Benavidez. He had broken him down, piece by piece, until the finish became inevitable. For Benavidez, it was a night of harsh lessons. He showed courage, flashes of brilliance, and moments of real competitiveness. But against a fighter like Crawford, moments aren't enough. Consistency, endurance, and adaptability are required at every second. And even then, it might not be enough. As Crawford stood in the ring, victorious once again, the questions began to rise. Who can challenge him? Who can match that level of skill, that level of composure? Because performances like this don't just win fights, they reshape divisions. This wasn't just a fight, it was a statement. And now the question remains, who's next? If you enjoyed this breakdown and storytelling recap, let me know your thoughts. Was this one of Crawford's most dominant performances? Could Benavidez have done anything differently? And who do you think has the best chance to challenge Crawford next? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned for more deep cinematic fight stories like this.